when someone is truly included, there will be no question about their presence, only their absence. So you may have seen this quote on my Facebook page, Visions and Voices Together, because it was very popular. And so I thought I would turn it into a t-shirt, and that's what I did. And today we're going to be giving away one of these t-shirts. So stay tuned and you will find out about that. We'll also be giving away 3 of our wonderful Love Yourself affirmation cards. So lots of goodies. And what I love about the first Thursday of each month is that you get to decide what we talk about. So this is a time for you to ask those questions that have been bugging you. It's like, I don't know. I think I need a new perspective. I need some ideas of what I can do next. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So I also just posted on my page that my brain is open for picking today. So let me know what questions you have. We had some like Heather had asked one beforehand. So we're going to go to Heather's comment first, but let me see. Say hi so I can say hi back to you. Let me show you Heather's question. Oops, that's when she's going to be here, the first half hour. So that's why we want to make sure. Okay, let's see. This is her actual question. So she said, any tips or advice for handling a school district that is going through a major change, including using an interim superintendent, and the proposed new candidate stepped down, so currently completely open to a new superintendent? So Heather, thanks for asking this question, because to me, this is like one more of a relationship question and looking at the culture of the whole district, right? Because when your district is looking for a new superintendent, and when there's been some kind of turmoil here with getting a candidate, it puts everybody kind of, creates more anxiety, and people are wondering what's going to happen to their school district. So one of the things that I would suggest as a former teacher is to reach out to people that you know in the district. And if this is a district that you live in, Heather, or you're asking this for somebody else, have that person reach out to people that they know in the school district, especially maybe if they know some people at the central office level, like the special ed director, even an administrative assistant at the central office. If you have a personal connection with any school board members, and just to give them words of encouragement that I know this is a rough time right now. We'll get through it. I'm looking forward to new adventures, or however you want to describe it. But I think you want to make sure that people understand that you as a parent are not just interested in your child. So maybe you usually reach out to people when there's a problem, and instead we could reach out to these people and just give them some encouragement at a rough time. I don't know, Heather, if parents were involved in the superintendent search. They also might be people that you could reach out to, and not that you're trying to get inside information, but again, you just want to thank them for their time and give them, hope that things are going to go well when a new person comes on board. But that's like real general. So Heather, if you are with us live, I would love for you to, okay, so she said, yeah, it is her district. So if you could let me know, Heather, more like details of, so, are you looking for how we can, have parents have more choice in selecting superintendents? Are you, exactly what part of this kind of uneasiness and, waiting for a new person, are you having questions about? And then I could be more specific. Okay, so she said, the parents I reached out to had no idea how to get involved or find out. So what you might want to do is see if they're going to have a new committee or the same committee start searching for more candidates, or do they feel like they have their candidates and they're going to stop? Typically, when they are hiring, central office administrators, like it will be announced maybe at a school board meeting, but how many of us go to school board meetings? Sometimes it is in a district newsletter. So that's another source that you want to encourage parents to always check into. It could be, an article posted in the local newspaper. It could be, it only went out to people on some district level, like accountability committee, and they were pulling parents from there. I mean, the other question you could ask is how many parents were represented on the committee? And she's got more here. She said, yes, how parents can get involved, stay informed on the possible people. Yeah, so I would, encourage parents to individually email, if there is an acting superintendent or the assistant superintendent, and say, as involved parents in the district, we would love to make sure we're staying on top of things. And if you can suggest the best way for us to stay informed on, the superintendent search. And so I would have individual parents email, the same person, or you could also have some parents email the president of your school board. So people are getting the emails from different places, different people are getting emails and not just one. You could have some parents also email the special ed director. You could have them email one person and copy these other people. But you could have them call on the phone. The best thing to do is for parents to take action and for them to be looking at ways that they can be more involved in their school district. Going to school board meetings is like an excellent way. It's not exactly the most exciting thing to do on, an evening. But if you have a small group of parents and you can say, I'll go to the December board meeting, can you go to the January board meeting, and trade off? Some school districts have school board meetings live, telecast, so you could watch it from home. There's different ways like that. And then the other thing I think is to, look at, get a list of who is on some district level committees, see how many of them are parents, reach out to them. Because if they're sitting on a committee as a parent, they're supposed to be representing parents. And so they need to hear from you and from other parents, right? And as always, I think we want to make sure that we give input and are involved in decisions that aren't, directly related to special education, our child. We want to be one group of parents with, with kids with and without disabilities that are going to be involved with making your school district even better. So let me know if that helped, Heather. I think going to school board meetings, and usually they have a public comment time, are excellent ways to get noticed. And usually there's some kind of, media, either TV, depending on how big your district is, or newspaper reporters. And so when they hear you testifying during public comment, that perks their ears up. And so that could be another way to get more parent input and for them to stay on top of things. It did. Thank you. So just ask, do you send out a newsletter? Can I get on that, email list? I mean, there might be some things that the district is doing and they don't even realize that it's really not reaching out and, getting circulated to parents. So yeah, let them know you want to know more. So if you are here with us live or on the replay, type in your questions because my brain is open and we're taking your questions today. I did have some other questions that came up, but I would love if you are with us right now to type in your question. So one of the things I had typed for a reminder was remind me to talk about why you want to see the rubric teachers are using to measure your child's progress on IEP goals. Now, as an advocate, I go to IEP meetings all the time, either in person if they live close by in Idaho, or like yesterday, it was a Skype meeting that I attended, or I do phone conference meetings. So I go to lots of meetings, either virtually or in person as an advocate. And recently, in 2 cases, the idea of using rubrics has come up. Now, usually that is one of the choices on your IEP form as far as how teachers are going to collect data. A lot of times you'll see observation, work samples, assessments, data collection, rubric, or they'll have an other. So the reason why you want to see what the rubric is you want to make sure that the rubric is really measuring what the goal says. So let me give you an example. So there is a student that has a written expression goal, and the goal is for the student to write, a 4 to 5 sentence organized paragraph. And then when I looked at the rubric that the teacher was going to be using to say whether or not the student was making progress on his goal, the rubric had all of the different, traits that you want to look for in a writing, a written piece, like conventions. Does the student use capitalization, punctuation, voice? Is it, this intriguing, unique, actually captures the student voice versus just kind of a boring sentence. Organization is one of those traits. There are other traits too. But the point is the teacher was using this rubric and he would get, marked down for not having capitalization and punctuation or not spelling words correctly. And then I looked at the goal and it's like, well, the goal is just to write an organized, right? What does that mean? Paragraph. And so then the rubric that we use should just be about what we want to see for an organized paragraph. So let me know in the comments, do you know offhand if you're if the special ed teacher is using any rubrics to help determine whether or not your child's making progress? So let me know in the comments if you use a rubric. Karen's here from Colorado. Karen says, hi, Charmaine. Just wanted to let you know that the IEP team took all the feedback you and I talked about and used it now in her son's new IEP. I have like a special button I use for that.
That was easy.
Now, sometimes it doesn't seem easy, but isn't that exciting? Yay. I know I was thinking of you the other day, Karen, and I thought, shoot, I never got back to see how that meeting went. So that is like so exciting. Yes, 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 yes. We love that. And what Karen and I had done is we just Karen booked a 30-minute free phone consultation with me. So if you want to know, and I mean, those are just always open to people. Let me know and I can give you the link to sign up for that. Natalie is here. Hey, Natalie. Natalie lives in Idaho, and she says, what are some ways to deal with behaviors that might come up because of Christmas? Not necessarily an IEP question. Oh, that's great. Yes, yes. And there are some good resources out there, and I can come back later this afternoon, Natalie, and put in some links for some specific articles about that. But yeah, you do. I mean, here we're just coming from Thanksgiving. It's, Thanksgiving was later. So now there's not many weeks and we're, going into the Christmas season. So for us as adults, for our kids, for our students, it can be a really stressful time when those routines are changing, right? So as much as possible, if you know when certain things are happening, make sure that their daily schedule is changed. So if you're using some kind of a visual schedule with either pictures or words of what's happening throughout the school day, you really only have control over what's going to happen with them during the day because you work at a school, right? You can give suggestions to parents of what they can do at home, but maybe first concentrate on what can we do at school to help ease kind of stress or uncertainty when all these holiday things are happening. So first look at a schedule. And if you don't typically use like an individual visual schedule, on the board, someplace where the student knows ahead of time what the days are going to look like. Depending on the student, you might have a whole week laid out so they know what's happening today and tomorrow and the next day. So that just needs to be tweaked. But I don't know, for me, that's like what helps ground me is my calendar. I can look at that and go, okay, now I know these are the next things to do. So for some students that get anxious when there's like too much information, what you can do is, decide what are priorities. There's going to be a lot of events happening at school, different assemblies, choir concerts, all of those kinds of things. Have the student decide which ones that they want to participate in, because it might just be too overwhelming. And then you're setting the student up for communicating through their behavior that they don't want to be there. The other tip that I've been thinking about, just because it comes up at holiday time, is if your student is in a choir or in a drama club and they're going to be presenting something, is to double check with the person, the music teacher or whoever, and double check how that child is being included in the performance. I think we've seen way too many pictures on Facebook in the past years where all the students are standing on the risers for this choir concert, and this student with a wheelchair is like sitting way over to the side, right? And not even close to the choir. That is not what we want to see for holiday programs. So not only helping the child know what's coming up, but also checking with the person in charge of the special program how that child is going to be included. Also, there might be some communication back to the family to say, I wanted to make sure you knew these are the 3 songs that we're going to be singing, or, if you want to have your child practice at home or sing along, or, so encourage some communication between the home and the school. Let the parents know, Friday we have a special assembly, next Tuesday we have this Christmas bake-off. Let the parents know so they can also talk to their child and say, oh, today's Friday, you guys have that special assembly. So you want that communication back and forth, just like you could ask the parents, if you have special things coming up and you want us to talk about it or, mention it at school, when you get home today, such and such is going to happen, let us know, and we'd be happy to do that. So whenever there's kind of a question, I look at how can we have more communication about it. And that really does a lot of help. So let me know, Natalie, if that gave you any new ideas or if you have any other questions. And like I said, I'll come back because there's some specific articles written about how to help kids deal with the stress of the holidays. So I'd love to share that with you. Natalie says, doesn't every teacher use a rubric to determine progress? Actually, no. So depending on what the goal is, right? And depending, some teachers like using rubrics and some teachers don't. Some teachers have learned about using rubrics and some teachers haven't. And so that's why when you look on the IEP form, after the annual goal, there should be a place on the form where it says, these methods are used for data collection. And then that, like I said, they'll have the boxes like work samples, observation, which you want to make sure that is in combination with something else, a rubric, assessment. So if the goal is working on knowing their multiplication facts, they might use some kind of a probe where they're given so many, multiplication problems and you see how many they solve correctly in 1 minute. So that's not a rubric, but that's a way for the teacher to still, assess that information. So yeah, rubrics are helpful for lots of different goals, but they don't necessarily have to be used for every goal. That's why there's choices. A lot of times I love for work samples to be included as one of the ways to evaluate progress, because, and then share the work samples with the parents, because when you're working on like a writing goal, it's one thing to get a progress report that says, oh, they're writing organized paragraphs 60% of the time, but it's a whole nother thing if the parent can see this was what your child wrote the last, these are the stories they wrote the past few weeks, and the parent can actually see, how organized the paragraph is or whatever the goal is. So yeah, so Natalie says it gave her some good ideas. Cool. And Michelle, hey, Michelle, from the East Coast, Maryland, she says, sadly, we have never had a teacher use a rubric. It makes things so much more clear. Yes, depending on the rubric, right? Because you don't want, you see rubrics that are just like, has all components, has some components, doesn't have many components. I mean, those kinds of things are still pretty nebulous, but there are so many well-written rubrics that teachers can get right online. And parents can look those up too if they're interested, and you could suggest it. And like what I was saying is, what we want to make sure is that the rubric is aligned to the goal. So, if the rubric is, all traits of writing and the goal is only working on, punctuation and capitalization, you don't want that child to be, graded on all these other aspects when you're really just focusing on, punctuation, capitalization, something like that. But yeah, I think it does help to have rubrics. And I think for most things, it's good to have a combination, right? So you can use a rubric, plus you can use a work sample. You can use observation. I think observations are helpful if people are actually logging them down versus waiting 9 weeks and then going, well, what did I observe while this child was in my reading group? No. So you basically, I think, want to use a combination of things. And remember, we've got one of my new T-shirt designs that we're going to give away at the end. So make sure you keep letting us know any other questions you have, because I'll be scrolling through and just picking a random winner like that. So let me see. There was another one that had to do with baseline. Okay. So this I wanted to talk about too, because this is something that's been coming up in recent IEP meetings I've gone to. So a lot of times when you're at the IEP meeting, you kind of jump to the goal. You may talk a little bit about the child's strengths, a little bit about their needs when you're looking at present levels of performance. But sometimes they just like skip over entirely talking about what the baseline data says. So I want you to make sure that you pay attention to what the baseline data says and ask some questions about it, either when you're in the meeting or now, if you pull out your IEP and you have questions, email the teacher and ask. So what I have been seeing is that there has been this disconnect between what the baseline data is measuring and then what the annual goal is. I guess it should be higher. What the annual goal is for the student. Okay. So if the annual goal for the student, well, let's start back. Let's go with baseline because that's in order, right? So if I want to measure how well the student is doing with a mixture of addition and subtraction problems on a math worksheet. So his goal is to get so much, to be accurate with so many problems and the mixture of addition and subtraction. And then what you do is you look at the baseline and you say, well, in the baseline, I need to make sure that I have something that measures a mixture of addition and subtraction problems on one worksheet. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm being very clear here. I feel like I'm confusing. So if the goal is to do a mixture of problems on a math worksheet, but the baseline only says, he knows his addition and subtraction facts, that doesn't tell me, well, where is he now with doing a mixture of addition and subtraction facts? I need to know that, not just, what he knows, but if he can do the combination on a worksheet, because that's what I'm going to be measuring each month or whatever on his progress report. So let me see if that makes sense. I don't know. Let me know if what I'm saying is understandable. And I'll go down here. Karen said that, that she bought my book. Cool. Yes, you can get this on Amazon, The Art of Advocacy. And then she also said that her son still doesn't have a special ed teacher. Is there a best way to discuss compensatory services? Yes. So that is like a huge thing, right? I don't know if they've had a substitute and they're calling that, giving him his services. So you want to, I think ahead of time, lay out the points that you want to make. And then I think what would help is to have a face-to-face meeting with the special ed director. And you start out saying something positive. And then you talk about, what you've observed in a non-judgmental way. As far as I've noticed that there's still no special ed teacher hired for my, to work with my son. And you talk about how that makes you feel, the needs that you have to be met. And, basically the need is for your son to be able to have a free, appropriate public education. You can use that FAPE phrase because that like perks up special ed directors' ears, and that you feel like the district has failed at providing your son with a free, appropriate public education. And you would love to have some time to talk about how we are going to resolve this. And then I would stop, I would pause, and I would let the special ed director have a moment to respond. And then the ball is in their court, right? So I think sometimes when we're having verbal conversations in meetings or one-on-one, we ask a question, but we don't pause and we don't give the person time to answer. So you in the back of your mind are going to have some possible solutions, but you want to see first what the special ed director offers, because if it's their idea first, chances are they will put that idea in place, right? Versus if you just make demands and then put them on this defensive field, chances are you're not going to get it resolved. So you look at what the problem is, that your son has lost out on X amount of days for appropriate services. And, what ideas do you have so we can resolve this, as quickly as possible? And then there's going to be a conversation back and forth. I mean, it's hard to predict exactly how that's going to go. And so also, Karen, I think you guys are with the BOCES, right? So I don't know if you have a special ed rep contact in your district, or you would have to be talking to, usually you'd probably start with the assistant director at the BOCES office. But yeah, and I don't know if you're in the Pikes Peak BOCES where you'd have to drive to Colorado Springs. So if a face-to-face meeting isn't going to work, at least, a phone call and have that opportunity to talk to them. And then, one of the things that you can look at, if the district isn't willing to go ahead and agree to provide compensatory services, then you have to take action and do another step. And usually that's filing a state complaint. And I'm working with a family now that's kind of where we're at. We're approaching the special ed director if he wants to make everything right and pay for some tutoring. And if not, we have a draft state complaint that we're going to file. So yeah, you just need to keep the conversation going and make sure that you take action. Holly, hey Holly, she says, I have an Octopus watch for my son. I can't get his teacher to give me a detailed schedule so I can set it up correctly. I have emailed, etc. Should I set it up? Should I set up an appointment? When I do this, they want the whole IEP team there, even though it's not any type of IEP meeting. Very frustrated. Yeah, so I don't know why she is being resistant to give you a detailed schedule. I mean, one idea is to turn it around. I don't know. So when my brain is open for brainstorming, know that not all my ideas are going to be the ones that you want. But so one idea that popped into my head is, how about if you ask the teacher to program his watch with the school schedule? So one, you have to trust that, she's going to be gentle programming your son's watch. But that might be a way for her to think about, oh, I really need to put in, more information here. So it's all in his watch. So that might be an idea to try. I think, basically when we have tried the kind of typical things as far as emails, things like that, and they're not working, that's a clue to us that we have to change, right? We have to try a different strategy. So yeah, setting up a time to talk with her or him might work out well too. So I think you kind of look at your choices, ask the teacher to do it, set up an appointment with the teacher. If they want to pull the whole IEP team together, I think that's fine. I mean, it's a hassle because it's going to probably take longer. But, out of that conversation of what the schedule is, there can be other conversations and input from other members of the team. And you could walk away saying, wow, that was good. I'm glad we had a meeting. So it might just be about the schedule on his watch, but that can lead to other things like, oh, I didn't realize that, when I was working with him, in the speech room, that I actually could be in your classroom because you guys are doing language arts at that time. So you never know what would come out of that. So that would be my off the top of my head ideas. Let me know if any of those, sound reasonable. Or the other thing is, guys, when you are here with us live, you can also pop in and give people, suggestions and tips, because even though, I'm on this live, it doesn't mean I have all the answers. So the hope is that when we do these Q&A shows, that you also will say, oh, I tried this and it really worked. So let us know if you have ideas for these questions that have been coming up, because... Okay, so Karen replied about the BOCES. BOCES has been pretty good, but there seems to be a disconnect between BOCES and the district sometimes. Yeah, and that happens a lot. And I don't know how your school district is. I know when I first was working in Woodland Park, we were BOCES employees. And so it was a disconnect between, like, our BOCES boss is telling us to do this, my principal's telling me to do this, how do we figure this out? So, what you need to do is look at, exactly the best way to approach. So if there's somebody in the school district that is kind of a liaison to BOCES, a lot of times one of your school district school board members is also a member on the BOCES school board. So sometimes talking to that school board rep, that can help. Yeah, so it's kind of like, I just lost my thought. So it's to determining who the best person is for you to talk with, right, to get it resolved. And, technically, BOCES is the one that is contracted to provide the services. So they need to make sure, that they understand the impact of not having a teacher hired yet. But if there's somebody in the school district that you can talk to first, as far as like going up the ladder, then I would, suggest that you do that. So Holly says, oh, unfortunately it has to be done on my iPhone. Okay, so that would be the other thing is, then I would look at either scheduling an appointment with the teacher, or, if they want to bring the whole team together, that's fine. And, you can sit there with your iPhone and say, okay, like, what's the schedule? And when you need more detail, say, can you explain that better? So you can be programming it appropriately. So yeah, it sounds like since they're not willing for whatever reason to send home a detailed schedule, then you need to go to them and get that schedule for them. Let me see. Oh, and so Karen says, what is an octopus watch? So Holly, let us know. Let me see here. So she says, the school has made me feel like I'm pushy. I will definitely move forward with setting up the sit-down meeting. Thank you for the advice. Yeah, and and it's, that's why advocacy is all about relationships. And it's, when there's not a good level of trust on either side, it makes it a little bit more strained. But, hopefully what you can help the teacher understand is how a detailed schedule on his watch is going to help her or him. And so they need to see the benefit, not only for your son, but the benefit for them. And so if you can brainstorm, this is going to be great because he's going to know what's coming up. He's not going to have a meltdown. That's going to make your day easier. Explain how it benefits the teacher. And Holly, is this a website? Oh, hey, Joy. Is this for, can you tell us what this website is for? It sounds cool. I like Hey, Joy. And And oh, she said the detail, I think she means the detailed schedule helps with transportations. Yeah, so all of that, whoever it's going to be helpful for, that's who you want to, get their attention. And Karen says, thanks. Yeah, it's a unique situation because OT, speech, etc. are through BOCES. Oh, okay. But the special ed teacher is a district position, and the preschool in the elementary is in the elementary school, but separate. So it's just funky all around. I always appreciate your feedback. You're welcome, Karen. Yeah, so that just gets more convoluted, right? Because you've got different key players, and usually they're not communicating that well together, and so it can get a bit fuzzy. The preschool is in the elementary school, but separate. So it sounds like the preschool teacher is this preschool special ed teacher is a district employee. Is that right, Karen? So whoever they are an employee of is who you want to be talking to. So if it's a district employee, then you need to be talking to the district person. And it sounds like, so do you have a separate special ed director for the district? And it's just the related services that they contract through BOCES. Since I'm not in Colorado anymore, I haven't kept up on what the district is doing. And Karen says, thank you. Thanks for being here. I want to give away some stuff. So let's make sure we've got time to give away. They're called Love Yourself cards from Louise Hay. And keep your questions coming. And Holly says, so many contract employees and related services here in Arizona. Yeah. And especially I think with like rural areas, that they're going to be more contracted employees, right? So I have 3 cards. Let me find them here. So your choice today is to pick the I card, the E card, or the P card. Oh, IEP. Think of that. So what I'm going to do is close my eyes, and I'm going to scroll through and stop on somebody who has a comment, and then they get a pick if they want the I, the E, or the P. So let me close my eyes and stop. Karen! Karen, do you want the I, the E, or the P? Let us know, because then that next person gets a choice of the 2 that are left. So let me go down here. Okay. Karen wants the E. E for, I am part of the harmonious whole as we all are. Oh, I love this. And I love the word harmony. And then the back says, I know I am one with all life. I am the beauty and joy of the universe, expressing and receiving. So how fun. So Karen, let me put my name or your name here. And go ahead and send me a message with your mailing address. So we got 2 letters left. Let's see. I'm going to close my eyes and open, and it's Karen again. Close my eyes. Open. Natalie, how cool. Natalie, so if you're still with us, I know she's teaching also. Do you want the I or the P, Natalie? Let us know. And then we can have another person, and then we're going to have the T-shirt drawing. So Natalie, let me look down here. Natalie gets the I or the P. Natalie. I don't see her, so let's pick our 3rd person. And it's Karen again. And it's Natalie again. And Heather, cool. And I think Heather might be off to a meeting because she said she could only be here for the first half hour. But Heather gets 1 and Natalie gets 1. Natalie, I don't have. So Natalie, I'm going to give you the P. And Heather, I'm going to give you the I. And now we're going to draw for, oops, I got to find, for a T-shirt. So this is my design from a quote that was real popular. And it says, when someone is truly included, no one will question their presence, only their absence. And that's by Renee Laporte, a wonderful disability rights advocate. So I'm going to pick one winner of our new T-shirt, and then I can, you can tell me what size and where you want Amazon to send it to. So, Holly, how cool. Okay, Holly. Holly in Arizona won the T-shirt. So let me write Holly for T-shirt. So, Holly, send me a private message. And this is a women's large, which looks small to me. And I think Amazon T-shirts run a little bit small. So you might want to tell me a size up, Holly, of what you would like. And I can order it from Amazon and then get it sent directly to your house. So you'll get it in a few days. How fun is that? Let me check and see if we have any more comments. Holly says, thank you. Yes, have fun. I love it. Next Thursday, I hope you can be here with us live. We have two wonderful, fantastic parent trainers, advocates from the state of Washington that are going to be with us, and they're going to be talking about being allies for our children. And, you know, we really are not supposed to be the voice of our children. Yes, I think when our kids are really little, right? But we have to recognize how we can make sure that our children are the ones that are speaking and, you know, determining what they want and what they need. So I hope you can join us next Thursday. We'll be here at noon Mountain Time. And if you're on our email list, you'll get a reminder about that. So I'm so excited. Thanks, guys, for being here today. Yeah, so Holly says, can't wait to wear it to school. I know, I think it's going to be so neat. And there's a couple other different styles or different quotes on my Amazon store. So if you want to know where you could get an extra T-shirt for your friend or somebody for a holiday gift, let me know and I can give you the link in the comments. And Karen says, I think the idea of being allies instead of speaking for your kids is so important. Hope to see the live next week. Yes, thanks, Karen. Yeah, and I love being around people that help me push my thinking even further. And I think it is such an evolution for us when we look at you know, how we do help our children become self-advocates and the modeling that we do as a parent when they're younger. So all of that is like super important, right? Would love the link. Cool, Holly. Yeah, I'll put it in the posting when we get off here. The other new one that I have that I haven't ordered one yet for myself is IEP, but the I stands for Inclusive Education Program. And so the IEP, the Inclusive Education Program T-shirt is also up there. And so that's going to be a fun T-shirt too. Oh, good. Heather says she was here, but doing a watch party in my group. So Heather, if you want to pick, I had put down I for you, but would you like I or P? Let me know, and I can make sure I send you the right one. And Karen says, love it. So we will wrap this up. I am so glad that you're here. To me, it's like this extended family. I get to know more of you, and it's like you are my friends. And look at who we have. Dinah is here. She says, looking forward to next week. Yes. So she is one of our awesome moms that will be here, that is a wonderful person that just thinks about things on a whole new level and like really helps me a lot. So I consider you, Dinah, one of my mentors. So I am glad when you can be with us live. So thanks. And Heather says she wants P. Okay, we are going to change Heather to P and Natalie to I. So Heather, this one will be yours. And it says, I rejoice in my unlimitedness. And the back says, I am aware that I am pure consciousness. I am one with all life. So these are cards from Louise Hay, and they are called Love Yourself cards. So Heather, give me your mailing address and a private message, and we'll send them off. And Dinah will be here next week. So excited. I will see you then, Thursday at noon Mountain Time. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your week, and keep on keeping on doing the good work to create change. All righty, take care. We will see you.